Hello, everyone. Welcome to the News Browse News broadcast. Today, Newsnet has exclusively learned that Russian President Vladimir Putin is finalizing arrangements to visit China on May 21, just 1 week after an anticipated summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on May 14th. According to multiple diplomatic sources, President Xi is expected to share the outcomes of the U.S.-China summit with President Putin. While a trilateral summit involving the U.S., China, and Russia in Beijing was considered at one point, it is reportedly being shelved due to the complex situation in Iran and other factors. The Chinese government aims to demonstrate its significant influence as a major power globally and domestically by hosting successive meetings with both American and Russian leaders amid heightened international tensions. According to Xinhua, Washington has proposed a 20-year suspension of Iran's nuclear activities during stalled talks held in Pakistan. Iran, in turn, offered a counterproposal for a 5-year pause in its nuclear program. The New York Times, citing sources familiar with the discussions, reported these developments. A key point of compromise from Washington is not seeking a permanent ban on Iran's uranium enrichment. This approach would allow Tehran to maintain that it has not permanently relinquished its right under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to produce nuclear fuel. The talks aim to find common ground on the future of Iran's nuclear capabilities. According to Yahoo News, an Israeli airstrike occurred near the entrance of a Red Cross office in the southern Lebanese coastal city of Rubio. The attack resulted in the death of a wounded person who was being transported to the center. Several Red Cross vehicles were damaged and the center's windows were shattered. Sources familiar with the situation stated that the airstrike targeted a man on a motorcycle who was transporting the wounded individual. The identities of both individuals remain unknown. Intense fighting has also erupted in the strategic stronghold of Bincha Bail in southern Lebanon. Israeli forces are reportedly besieging the area, while Hezbollah militants are attempting to push them back with rockets and artillery fire. The conflict has escalated over the past week despite a temporary ceasefire agreement between Iran and the United States. Lebanese and Israeli ambassadors to the U.S. are scheduled to hold direct talks in Washington on April 14th. However, Israel has intensified its airstrikes and ground operations in southern Lebanon. Concurrently, attacks in other regions of Lebanon, particularly Beirut, have decreased following over 300 deaths in airstrikes last week. According to Xinhua, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is set to host a significant meeting on Tuesday in Washington between the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors. This marks the highest-level direct engagement between the two countries since 1993. The talks are expected to center on achieving a ceasefire, the long-term disarmament of Iran-backed Hezbollah, and exploring prospects for a broader peace agreement. A State Department official emphasized that Israel's conflict is with Hezbollah, not Lebanon, underscoring the rationale for these discussions. Attending the meeting will be U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Michel Issa, U.S. State Department Counselor Michael Needham, Israeli Ambassador Yechiel Lader, and Lebanese Ambassador Nada Hamadeh Mawad. Both nations expressed differing expectations prior to the talks. Israel insists on Hezbollah's disarmament and a peace deal, while Lebanon hopes for direct negotiations and a ceasefire. The meeting comes amidst fierce ongoing fighting between Hezbollah and the Israeli army in southern Lebanon, following Hezbollah's entry into the U.S.-Israeli war with Iran on March 2, which has resulted in over 2,000 casualties. According to the Free Times, the U.S. military carried out an airstrike on April 13 against a suspected drug trafficking vessel in the Eastern Pacific, resulting in 2 fatalities. The U.S. Southern Command stated the vessel was operating on a known drug route and involved in trafficking activities. This incident raises the death toll from U.S. military operations against alleged drug trafficking vessels to at least 170. The Trump administration asserts it is combating drug terrorists in Latin America, but has not provided definitive evidence to substantiate claims that targeted vessels were involved in drug trafficking. This has fueled an intense debate regarding the legality of U.S. military actions. International law experts and human rights organizations argue that these airstrikes likely constitute extrajudicial killings, as U.S. forces appear to be targeting civilians who pose no direct threat to the United States. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.